Let's go to the full and narrated chapter of One Piece 1139. Ready? Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Before we dive into the content of this video, I ask you all, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And well, let's get into the video. Title of Chapter 1139, Mountain Devourer Cover Story. The two rebels have been captured. Two shadowy figures are brought before Who's Who. He is drawing his katana to punish them. It seems to be Ulti and Page 1, as both figures have horns and resemble them. Page 1. Chapter's opening text. The exploration of Orist Castle continues. Chapter 1. 1139 begins by showing Orist Castle. Zoro says, "We've been looking for the key for a long time. The sun is about to set. Look at the size of this place." Then Road says, "The guards have no idea where the key is. The one who probably knows about it is Jarul-sama. Maybe the other elders too." Zoro then says, "The old man with the sword? Would he really tell us where it is?" Road says, "Of course not. Freeing Loki is considered a serious crime, you know." Zoro says, "We haven't even decided if we'll free him or not." Luffy is marching in Nika's pose and says, "Wow, Zoro, you really don't go easy. Hey guys, look over here." Then something surprises Nami, who says, "What is that?" Page 2. Road gulps and says, "A red carpet, the remains of nobility. Could this be the throne room?" Translation note. In the original, it can also be read as King's Chamber. Then we see the throne room, completely destroyed, with a cracked throne. Road says, "Wow. With your permission. Wow, everything is destroyed. Signs of battle are everywhere." Zoro says, "The ceiling is completely destroyed." Nami says, "So this really is the throne room." Nami says, "A mark? Where?" Page 3. Then Road holds the trio in his palm while they take a closer look. Luffy says, "That's right." Nami says, "It looks like a magic circle I saw in a book. What is this?" Then we see the circle from which the Holy Knights emerged. Road, observing, says, "It's a ritual from some country used to summon demons." What? Does it really summon demons? Well, I don't know. Why would something like this be in the throne room? This is scary. Luffy, looking at the circle, says, "I feel like I've seen this somewhere recently." Then a voice suddenly says, "Straw Hat Luffy." At that moment, Luffy says, "What? Who? Are you a demon?" Nami, trembling, says, "Of course not, you idiot, that doesn't exist." Road, as scared and trembling as everyone else, says, "Then it must be the spirit of the dead." Page 4. Then a man jumps into the middle of the throne room from the ceiling. Apparently, he says, calm down, I've always wanted to meet you." Luffy says, "Who are you? Show yourself now." Road says, "Could it be a summoned demon? This castle is cursed. We must run before we get possessed." Luffy then says, "Calm down, Road. Stop running." Translation note. Calm down is the closest translation of Shizumari Tamai, a phrase frequently used in religious or spiritual contexts in Japan, especially in Shinto rituals, to calm agitated or furious gods or spirits. The person then says, "Hey, wait." As soon as he says that, two axes come flying towards Road. The giant screams in fear, dropping the three straw hats at the moment the axe hits the wall. While the three are falling, Road shouts, "Don't let go of my hand!" Page 5. Luffy then saves Nami, throwing her into Zoro's arms. Nami says, "Thank you." Then we see a person on one of the arms of the giant throne. Luffy says, "There's someone on the throne." While Road apologizes to Nami, Luffy says angrily, "I'm going up there to beat that guy up." Then we see the person. A man with a silhouette of a hat and cape appears. He has black glasses and a fire tattoo on the upper corner of his right eye. Road, recognizing the person, says, "Ah! Yarshi! Why are you here?" Yarsan says, "I felt a strange haki coming from the castle, but it seems to be gone now. Instead, I found you guys. I heard the rumors. Straw Hat Luffy, looks like you defeated Kaido, huh? It's been a long time. I want to travel to Wano again. Page 6, Luffy, confused, says, "What? Who is Yarsan?" Road then explains, "In Elbaf, he is known as Yarsan." "Didn't you go to school? Didn't you meet a teacher named Ripley there? He's her husband." Luffy, smiling, then says, "Ah, so he's the father of that big guy." Yarsan then says, "Big guy. Gahahaha, indeed. So you met Ripley and Kron? He inherited a lot of giant blood. Even though he's my son, he was too big for me to carry." Then he talks about Colin. "He's 20 years old. You know?" And then about Ripley. "And Ripley is 80. She's older than me. Marrying a giant isn't worth it. After all, I'm the only one who's aging." Nami, surprised, says, "Indeed," thinking that someone like that exists. Page 7. Yarsan then steps down from the throne and says, "Love is freedom." Historically, many mixed races have existed. Buccaneers, Dosundas, long limbs, Wotans. Hybrid races struggle to survive. But in every era, there have always been those who knew how to adapt. Luffy says, "Huh?" Zoro then says, "You seem to know a lot, but who are you?" Then Yarsan strikes Odin's pose, extending his hand, and says, "The Missionary of Love." Immediately, Luffy says, "Sanji will probably end up like this when he gets old." Luffy then says, "Old man, I'm looking for Loki's key." Right away, Rhodes says, "Don't say things like that so casually. Of course he wouldn't know." Then Luffy quickly says, "Then forget it." Zoro says, "Too late for that now, huh?" Yarsan then says, "Ah, it's about Loki." Page 8. I love it when other people cause trouble. Nami immediately scolds him. "What a terrible thing to say. You shouldn't just tell anyone that, you know?" Yarsan says, "Lady, secrets are meant to be spread. I already told you to stop. Do you know what kind of man Loki is, and what's the worst that could happen? If the worst happens, what will you do, Straw Hat?" Luffy then responds, "I'll defeat him and lock him up again, of course." Then Yarsan says, "In the past, only the red-haired man, Shanks, was able to defeat him. But until then, no one had been able to stop him." Page 9. Luffy then becomes even more interested. Yarsan says, "What kind of power does Loki have? If something happens, how much damage could there be?" Luffy then starts ignoring the warnings and says, "This old man talks too much. Let's look for the key ourselves." Yarsan says, "Hey, don't ignore me." Zoro, smirking, also says, "What a waste of time." Nami says, "He's warning us. Pay attention. You two." Road then says, "I'm sorry, Yarsan." Smiling, he says, "Why?" Then we see a quick silhouette. Roger says, "I'm tired of your warnings. Are you scared or what?" He and Gaban argue. Roger says, "If you want to stop me, then fight me." Gaban says, "I told you to understand the risks, Roger, you idiot." Then back to the present, Yarsan says, "Hey, Road, push this throne." Page 10, the scene shifts to the Giant's Feast. Oimo says, "A long time ago, he was part of the Pirate King's crew. Besides Roger, there were 2 other incredibly strong pirates." Then Usopp says, "Oh, so there was another one besides Rayleigh." Oimo says, "That's right. Once, during Captain Roger's treatment, Roger and this man were in a hospital in the mountains." Translation note. The Japanese word for massacred is keri-uchi, which specifically means he killed pirates seeking revenge. Oimo then says, "But unfortunately, the hospital was surrounded by enemy pirates. However, this man went out alone, and with only 2 axes, he massacred hundreds of pirates." Usopp, quite impressed, says, "Alone? And with just 2 axes?" Oimo continues, "And there's more. Everything this man left behind was a completely devastated mountain. They say not a single tree was left standing." Usopp says, "What? Why did he cut everything down?" Oimo says, "Because of this legend, he became known as the Mountain Devourer." As he says this, we see Brook, Sanji, and Jinbei also listening to the story. Jinbei comments that this story is quite famous. Oimo says, "This man was known as the left hand of the Pirate King. standing alongside first mate Silver's Rayleigh. Final double page 11 and 12. As Oimo continues telling the story, we see the trio back at Orist Castle. Someone says, "A secret chamber." Nami then says, "A treasure room? Kya Yarsan. You're the best." As Nami happily sings, Road asks how Yarsan knows about this place. The old man says, "Well, exploring is my hobby." Then, upon arriving at the location, Luffy is impressed by what he sees, as the treasure chests are all open and empty. He says, "But the chests are completely empty." Yarsan says, "Gah ha ha ha. It really was a treasure room in the past." Nami, immediately furious, starts cursing the old man. "You liar!" Yarsan then says, "Hey, don't blame me. This place was abandoned, so it wouldn't be strange if thieves came and stole everything. But look over there." Then, in the middle of the room, we see a key, and Yarsan jumps in front of it. That was certainly something the thieves didn't want. Luffy gets very excited. Yarsan says, "In other words, not even villains would want the liberation of Loki. Would you steal this key?" Then we return to Oimo and Kashi, who continue talking about the old man. As we said, this incredible man has been here for 20 years. The legendary figure who stands on the same level as Rayleigh, and Roger, the left hand of the Pirate King, Skopper Gaben. As he says this, we see Gaben removing his kappa hat, picking up Loki's key, and saying, "You came to steal the key, didn't you? Then come take it from me." Note, the Japanese word for side-by-side, narabi, conveys a sense of equality in comparison. End of chapter. Break next week. Final editor's phrase, Skopper Gaben has appeared, and that was the narrated chapter. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. See you next time. Thanks.